The theme today is your consciousness creates your reality. So let's start at the beginning. In the beginning, there is this vast, unexplainable, we don't have the vocabulary for it, though we keep trying, energy, creation, creator, supreme power, divine spirit, and our dear Reverend Jane Beach calls it her beloved. A lot of people call it God. I had a problem with that word, God, for many, many years, probably over 50 years. Because in my head it was the man, and he looked human, and I could not comprehend how this God could do all the creation that he was supposed to have done. So, what was working for me and works for me today is divine spirit. This divine spirit created is everything and beyond into infinity. Absolutely everything. Every atom, nano, particle, in every body, every person, every structure, every plant, the earth, the other planets, the air, and beyond into eternity, into infinity, into anything that we cannot comprehend, because we're human. And this creator is a necessary spirit that needs to manifest into form, and thus created of many things the human form. And humanity is the outcome of God's desire to express individually. So, I am this divine spirit with all the elements of this divine spirit. The love, the capacity to create, the wisdom, the beauty, the clarity, the intuition, every property of this divine spirit is in me. And I know it is in every person in this world. Whether we use these qualities or not, the Creator gave us a choice. And this is powerful stuff. So, when I choose to have a positive, loving, wonderful day, that day responds back to me. And it's amazing how it shows up. And it's the classic example is you go out shopping and you encounter a cashier, and boom, they're talking back at you, they have a smile, they're gracious, they're having fun with you. They are responding to what I am putting out there in the world. If I'm angry, and boy, I'm known for my temper. Watch out. My sign is a scorpion, and I can have a big sting. But you know what? I'll get it back. People will respond back to that. So if you present yourself in an unhappy way, the world will respond to you, and stuff goes wrong. It just goes wrong. Now, the other day, over on the corner of Sacramento Street and Pacific, I was in a left-hand turn lane, and there was a pickup in front of me, an older pickup truck, one of those sturdy ones. And he decided he was too far out in the intersection and decided to back up. And I'm going, crunch! My car. And I just had visions of this, and I was having a good day. Believe it or not, I was. And I had these visions of my bumper and my grill and the radiator and, big time money. So we pull over and park. Well, I met the nicest man in the world. He was wonderful. He happens to be a nurse with Kaiser. And the first words out of his mouth are you okay? We had fun getting to know each other, exchanging information. He called me the next day to make sure I was okay. That's how it works. So stuff still happens because we are human, because we are living in this world. But our response to it can change it. One time before I ever knew Science of Mind, I was working at Varian Associates, Fortune 500 Silicon Valley company, and I worked in the headquarters. Excuse me. And my department was in the back of the building, but there was a lot of people that came through the doors there by that area. And every morning I had to leave to go to a meeting to plan the day with other managers. And the executive manager, actually the president of the legal department, always came in that back door to go up the back stairs to his department. And grumpy, he had this sour face on him that was and I made him my project. I said good morning to him every time I saw him, which was almost every day, because we were on the same schedule. He hardly acknowledged me. He glanced at me and kept on going. And as time went on, he started nodding his head. And I kept on. Good morning. And then pretty soon I heard a grump from him. Well, we're talking like a year's project. And eventually, he started greeting me. And he actually would initiate the greeting eventually and say, with a smile, and say, good morning. I did it. Next project. The thing that really impresses me too is when we use our consciousness, wonderful stuff can happen. For instance, my car has a GPS system that needs to be updated because it doesn't work directly from the satellite for the updates. It tells the car where it is, but it doesn't tell it the name of the streets unless it's been updated. So I was just thinking last week, well, it's been a while. I wonder if there's a brand new update for my car. Boom. This week I got a letter in the mail and said it's available. Isn't it wonderful how that happens? And creating this consciousness takes work. It takes practice. It took me years to have the realization. And one of the ways that it actually started was when I started joining the book study group that was brand new back in 2006. And we were studying the Way of Mastery. Well, at that time, it's time. At that time, I could not, I was still, even though I had been involved, I wasn't, I didn't get it yet. I didn't get it yet. I knew it was a good message, and I'd hear it in my head, but, that distance we talk about, the 18 inches between the head and the heart, getting it into the heart and knowing it, and I didn't have it in the heart yet. And I really had a problem with the word like Christ. What's that? Or even Jesus and God. And through the studying, through the camaraderie that we experienced, and other people were in the same spot I was, so it was a learning journey for all of us. And over time, and classes, and experiencing the group, and being reminded, something come out of my mouth and somebody say, you don't want to really say that, do you? No. So studying, meditation, participating in the treatments that are available here, all of it works to bring you to the point where you have that consciousness of creating your reality the way you want that. You have the power. The divine spirit is in you and provides that for you, and it is there. Thank you. And I'd love to introduce one of my inspirations. Both of these ladies have been my inspiration. Sandy Thine.
Thank you, Mary. You are an inspiration as well. Well, okay, I've got two little things I want to share, and I don't, okay, I kind of like to walk down here if that's okay with you guys. Is that okay? Make sure that I don't fall because I'm getting old, but anyway, I'm still young at heart. Consciousness. That's why we do meditation. That's why we're here. We're all one mind, right? That's why you're here right now. We're all the loving kindness that God expresses. That's what we want. That's who we are. And as I said in my invocation today, there is a greater power than I am, and it flows through me. And it is in everything I do and everything I think about. If you could just, I try to say this every day, there's a greater power that flows through me in everything I do, in everything I think about. That doesn't make everything rosy, but it does get in your mind. You know, one of my favorite sayings is, live your life as a prayer. Well, you can't go down the street with a sign on saying, God is all there is, or, everybody you meet say, bless you, God bless you, can I tell you that God has a beautiful day for you? I mean, I know that's kind of like not what we do, but just knowing that you live your life as a prayer is so meaningful, and if you say that you think it, then things start coming, things start flowing. And it takes a long time. This is not an easy trip. I've been on lots of trips, and this isn't an easy one. So I do want to share with you that you've heard the stories of my mom and dad passing and all of that, and now we are in the midst of selling their house. So I prayed about this. Of course, I want as much money as I can get. I want everything. I want it to be a quick sale. I want the perfect person to get the place. I want, to bless the house. I want everything. So I did pray for I pray all the time, but I prayed about this very, very rigidly, very, very faithfully every morning. It was one of my top prayers. And then my real estate person called me, Betty Humayek. And while I was praying, I kept getting a number in my mind there was this number. And I thought, this is really weird, but, I don't know. Maybe I'm making this up. You second guess yourself. It's kind of like, I think I'm making this up. So Betty calls, and she says, we have an offer. And I said, how much? And she told me the number. It's the same number. I said, oh, my God, Betty. It's the same number. We'll take it. Because it was divinely guided. There was no doubt. Okay, let's go forward 2 weeks. All of a sudden, Betty and I are talking, and things don't look that good. Everybody that's been out there, the roofer, the septic tank people, the well, and then there was the inspector in the house that found all these little things. And everything started adding up, lots of money. We're talking about a 40-year-old roof. Looks like it has maybe 3 or 4 years left in it. Well, it's a 40-year-old it's 40 years. It's guaranteed for 40 years. So it's been 15 years since they put the roof on. And now it looks like it's got maybe 3 to 5 years left. Oh, not good. How much for a new roof? Quote, $11,000. Oh, that's not good. So, the septic tank, $4,800. Okay, now we're at $15,000, $16,000. The well, $1,000. So we're looking at a lot of money, and I'm thinking, my goodness. We have another roofer come out, and he looks at it and he says, it shouldn't be in that condition. The manufacturer of the whatever they put on the tiles, it's not tile, but shingles, is really deteriorating very quickly. So the thing to do is go to the manufacturer. They'll back it, and it's transferable to the buyer. Well, Robin made a statement last week about, a situation or a condition that happens, you can make many kinds of stories out of that. Many things can happen from what is happening in your life. They're all different players, all different scenes. So I'm thinking, okay, did we come up with like $11,000 or what? So my brother went to the county. He found the person that did the original roof. And he's going out this week to look at it. He doesn't know who the manufacturer was, and he doesn't have a contract from that long ago. But things are looking a little bit better, and he's going to see what he can do to fix it. So we're maybe looking at maybe $3,000 or $4,000, I'm hoping. The septic, forget, you can't not do the septic. I mean, that's just a given, and the well. But I'm hoping that under $10,000. Now, the thing is, does this discourage me? No, because I know that Spirit works in everybody's favor, that everybody that is involved, it's for their highest good. I wouldn't want to buy a house that needed septic, redone. I wouldn't want to buy a house that had problems with the roof. So those are things you have to do, and it just validates for me that God is in the whole thing. And that the players will come, and it'll turn out just perfect the way it's supposed to be. Does that make sense? Yeah, I thought it was great. So that's my first story. We're going forward with this. If it costs, it costs because it has to be paid. But I have a feeling, I know that Spirit's going to take care of everything that needs to be taken care of. My second story is, I've shared with you that I have a granddaughter that moved to Texas not too long ago, a couple years ago. She was going to get married last week, and that all fell through. It was very sad. Yeah, it was sad, but she's better off. Anyway, that's just my opinion. Anybody that doesn't want my granddaughter can just go jump, So, anyway, that really fell through. And I felt so bad because her wedding was supposed to be last week. So I went shopping, and I had a couple of friends with me, and I picked out all these just little tiny gifts to wrap up and give her. And one was a little blue rabbit, because when she was about 4 years old, I'd given her a blue rabbit, and she loved that rabbit. And she set it down somewhere, and it got lost. And she cried and cried. My daughter says, "Mom, where did you get that rabbit? I got to get her another blue rabbit." Well, I don't know. Anyway, I came across a blue rabbit. And not a small one, but I thought, oh, that's sweet. She'll love it. And then I got her some other odds and ends, some really cute things. Wrapped it all up, took my time, mailed it. I took my time wrapping it and doing that, and mailed it, and I was all excited. I sent her a text, and I said, "I'm sending you a package. Please look for it." She said, "Oh, good, Grandma. I'm so thankful. Thank you so much. I love you." Okay. That was a week and a half ago. Actually, almost 2 weeks. Never heard from her. So I was getting a little irritated because, after all, I'm the grandmother. And you know what? You send thank you notes. You let me know that you received something. Now, I don't want to be ungracious, but this is mulling around in my mind. I talked to my daughter. She said, "Oh, man, she just hasn't had the time to go get the package." Well, the package was mailed to her apartment. And so 2 weeks is a long time. So I said, okay, I didn't talk to my daughter for a couple of days, and then I thought, you know what? I'm not going through my daughter. I'm going to my granddaughter with this. So I sent her a text. And of course, I had to tell a couple of friends so I could get, righteous about this thing. Because do you know that children, well, she's not a child. She's 9 years old, for heaven's sakes. You have to have manners. Don't you know the way you're raised? I mean, you should be raised to give thank you notes and to consider that I am your grandmother and I need the most attention if nothing else. Or if no one else. So I planned this little thing, and I was getting indignant more by the minute, but something stopped me and said, be kind. Do your message with kindness. So even though I was wanting to lecture and scold, I was very kind and very loving in my message. Well, then every time my text went off, I thought, oh, there she is. She did it. She's contacting me. No, didn't happen. So I went all day yesterday, and I had to go into the house and get something, so I left my phone in the car. And I came out, and there was a message, phone call, not text. It was my sweet, wonderful, darling granddaughter. And unbeknownst to me, she had been working the 7 to 11 shift, so she wasn't home at night to get the package. And yesterday, she went and got it. I'm sure that my text might have prompted her a little bit, but she went and got it, and she said, oh, Grandma, I just love you so much. I started crying. I thought, you could have made this so bad. And she's so sweet and wonderful. And that's, if I hadn't listened to my knower, to the Spirit guide in me, that I should be gentle with my message, it would have been a whole different outcome, right? So it takes a long time. And that's my 2 stories. Thank you very much.
I, on the other hand, like the podium, so I can hide behind it. So we're talking about consciousness, and since our consciousness does create a reality, what kind of reality do you want? Do you want to have one that is not so much fun? Many of our reactions to life came from programs when we were little kids. When you would cry, you would get fed. If you had a temper tantrum, you'd get your way. And a lot of us have not upgraded that software since we turned 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and on. So a lot of people are still under that programming of what used to work before. I'm sure you've seen some people that have not really a temper tantrum, but a little hissy fit, maybe. So, and we also learned that if we bossed people around, we could get our way, and if we intimidated them, we could get our way. But it wasn't always, you didn't feel good about it probably, and they didn't feel good about it either. But there was always a kind of a predicted outcome, if this, then that, kind of like the computer. If I am late from getting home from work, my wife, husband, whoever, is going to get upset. So they're trying to program you to get home on time. Doesn't always work. So Sandy and Margie and I have been taking a class on this Handbook to Higher Consciousness, which was out in about the 70s. I had it for about 20 years before finally reading it. And it's an awesome book. It's so wonderful. It's Handbook to Higher Consciousness by Ken Keyes or Keyes. I'm not sure how people pronounce it differently. Keyes is easier to say, so I'll just say it that way. And what Ken Keyes did is he was thinking he was going through some problems in his life. He was on his about third marriage or so. And he was trying to find the answers and going to different places. And one person that he found was a Buddhist, Chogyam Trungpa. Am I saying that right? Oh, good. And from that conversation that he had with him, he started to see things differently. He realized it wasn't the circumstances that were creating personal unhappiness, it was how you reacted to it. So if this, then that. It could be if my granddaughter doesn't call me because she got a gift from me, how am I going to react? So Sandy gave us an example of she didn't go to that place of getting all upset with her granddaughter. She went to a kind, loving place, accepting place. So she saw the event and had a different reaction to it, which is what Ken Keyes said. Okay, so he thought people have addictions to outcomes. He called it addictions, which I have a little problem with addictions, but he likes to call it addictions. And he calls an addiction something conditioned into the mind or body, which, if not satisfied, automatically triggers a negative emotion. So which could be anger, fear, jealousy, grief, resentment, sorrow. And that is, and it's those emotions that are causing the unhappiness. It's not the actual event, it's remember that saying they used to have, it would say, life is 90% 10% what happens to you and 90% how your attitude is about it. So it's the same kind of thing. The outside world can never make us happy. It's not up to them to make us happy. It's up to us how we react to things. And you are the only thing that can make you happy. We've been trying to manipulate the outside world for a long time probably, and how does that work? Doesn't always work so good. It's much easier to reprogram yourself than to try to reprogram the outside world. So even if you wanted other people to do things, even if you did get what you wanted, sometimes you can intimidate or force people to give you what you want, and then you got it, and then you have to worry about keeping it. Am I going to get to keep it? Am I going to want, if I got this car, do I need a new, bigger, faster, fancier car? You just keep on, you're happy for a little while getting what you wanted, but then it's like that wears off. It's just a temporary kind of fix. But you can never get enough from the outside world. So he suggests, instead of having addictions, you have preferences. So you have this addiction to this outcome, instead of if this, then that. If this, then it's okay either way. For Margie, getting a flat tire. Getting a flat tire cannot be a fun experience, and you can enjoy the process, or you can hate the process. And I love the story of Abraham Hicks and his, what's their name? Esther and Jerry Hicks. Their two mothers were with them in the car, and they got a flat tire, and Jerry's mother got out of the car and said, "Oh, this is terrible, this is miserable, we're going to have a flat tire, it's going to take forever for the people to come and help us, and this is just terrible, I'm hungry, I want to go eat." And then Esther's mother got out of the car and she said, "Oh, look at the pretty flowers, isn't it a beautiful day?" Just enjoying the same event, but a different outcome. So probably if you remember, that's the story, the Christmas story. At Christmas time, the father had a flat tire, which he always seemed to get. Remember that story with the BB gun? Oh my gosh, are you guys awake? The Christmas story, yeah. I know, my mom's awake, that's good. But he gets a flat tire, and for him, it was kind of a game. How fast can I change the flat tire? So he didn't get upset. It's like, okay, time me, see how fast I can get this flat tire changed, until his son went out to help him and lost the bolts to put the tire back on again. But it's a good movie. If you haven't seen it, it's a good one. So, but the father wasn't programmed with fear and lack and limitation and all that stuff. It's just like, yes, this is a challenge. I'm going to take it on, and I'm going to have a different experience than someone else who might get a flat tire in nighttime, because it was nighttime when they got it too. So you haven't changed the outside world or conditions. You've just changed who you are. So he changed his thinking of the flat tire. So he changed his computer program. And if you have been on this planet for more than a few years, it is time to do a software upgrade. We are used to doing it with our computers. The computer doesn't change. It's just the software that we feed it changes. So we operate differently then. And when you change those programs, you can change your feelings of unhappiness. And it doesn't mean that the world will instantly change. Doesn't mean that things are all of a sudden going to be hunky-dory. It's just that you are able to accept it and not overreact. So you just have this event that happens, and you just take it calmly, lovingly. And he gives this example, which I just love, of this person that this husband and wife are having soup, and the wife is making the soup, and she's making, I'm going to say clam chowder, I can't remember what it was, but she likes a lot of pepper in it, and me, I don't like a lot of pepper in it, and she was saying she has to cook it with the pepper in it. Now, the husband didn't like the soup with a lot of pepper in it, so he said he preferred it, not, I'm addicted to it, has to be changed, you have to change it because you're wrong. I prefer it with less pepper. So he decides not to eat the soup, and he figures, well, I guess tonight I'm just not supposed to have soup. I'm supposed to have the salad and the French bread that goes with the soup. I'm just going to enjoy those things. So next time, now the wife could make the soup the same exact way, because she feels that the pepper needs to be in there when you're cooking it. Couldn't make two separate pots. You got to make it this way. That's the way she was taught. That was her program. So he can once again, okay, I'm not supposed to have soup again tonight. Not telling her, not doing it in a loving way. It's like, I just prefer soup with less pepper. So he was able to be the loving, kind presence that he was, taking that event, which could have been, husbands, and wives can, if the food is not right, it's because you cooked it wrong, but he didn't do that. He just lovingly, acceptingly said, this is how I prefer it. And that's how this changing your addictions to preferences, yes, I prefer not to get a flat tire, but if it happens, then I'm okay. I'm just going to love life and not let those things influence me. And let's see. So without these addictions, you don't have to waste time with shoulds and shouldn'ts. I should have, you should do that, you shouldn't do that. You have more time, you have more energy, and you don't have to live in the past. If I should have done this in the past, I should have been more whatever, and just spending all that time thinking that I really should have done this differently. And you can spend so much time in the past, you can get spiraling down into ideas of things of the dead past, that you can't change the past. Yes, you can have a new future, but you don't have to spend your time futurizing either. Just if you can just live in the moment now, just being here now and loving what is. It's kind of like what they talk about in The Way of Mastery, which we did study that. Gosh, we read that 2 times through, I think, and it takes 3 times through, okay. It takes a few years, but one of my favorite passages in The Way of Mastery is get to the place where nothing is unacceptable to you, which is like, whoa, that's a whole lot of stuff that happens, how do you forgive mass murderers and things like that? But get to the place where nothing is unacceptable to you. Changing your program of having that trigger, having that addiction to events that happen, and just getting to the place where it's all okay. And as Sandy was saying, this is for your highest and best good, or is it Mary? But whatever happens, just knowing, whatever it is that happens, this is for my highest and best good, and I can change it from, this is a terrible thing, to, I know, the not getting married. Changing that from, gosh, that's a terrible thing, how awful, to, wasn't that lucky that this marriage, for whatever reason, did not happen, because it probably would have had a much worse result later on. But just getting to that place where everything is okay, and stopping the cycle of spiraling down and seeing things, what I should have done, but just being here now, because this was written in the 70s, which, it's a big be here now, things were groovy and things like that, but he's a pretty fun place. So you get to the place where you love everyone unconditionally, including yourself. Now that's a big one, including yourself. So can you get to that place where, gosh, I blew it, I made a mistake, I should have done this, I shouldn't have done that, but just getting to the place where, it's okay, I did this. I let people have a test with me when I'm late a lot. They can be upset about it, or they can just think she's where she's supposed to be in her perfect time and perfect place. Doug will even tell me that sometimes, that I'm right where I'm supposed to be. It's not that I was supposed to be on time. I'm right wherever I am. It was okay. So you can see that he's given up some of his addictions and had them turn into preferences. So when you get to the place where you have the same type of event that always used to trigger you in a certain way, and you realize, that didn't bother me anymore, then you realize that you have released some of your addictions and you have become into the preferences of having a preferential world, that things you can have a different response, and then you have let go of those triggers. And you can choose to be happy, which is a good place to be. And Ken Keyes does have like 5 different ways to help you through that process. But we are out of time, so I am going to let Doug come up and wrap us up with a nice treatment. So, thank you.
Well, there you have it. 3 out of the 6 practitioners. Weren't they good? I like Mary Ellen. She started out by giving us the name for God, and I love both of them, the beloved or her personal choice, the divine spirit. And she gave us the key. Just choose for it to be a good day, and your day will respond. And isn't that the key to consciousness, which was the topic of all of this? Just put out there what's going to happen, what you're going to experience, and it will. I love Sandy's 2 stories. Again, it's all about creation. It's about consciousness. And she said good things happened when you're tuned in. And what is she tuned into? Consciousness. And Betty talks about reprogramming. Betty is a fine person to wind it all up, because she talks about what do we do? How do we get there? How do we get to this place? We all have things that happen that aren't, the most enjoyable or what we want. But Betty gave us the roadmap to making the best out of it. And that's to reprogram ourselves. Reprogram us rather than everyone else. And so I think that's just a wonderful take on this consciousness. And it's also a place that I would like to put in a personal pitch. We have 6 practitioners. The ones who've been the practitioner longest is myself, Tommy, and Betty. And our newest one is Mary Ellen, who's 6 months into this. And I think you can see what a wonderful consciousness at least the 3 of them that presented have. And if you would like to get part of that, if you'd like to get a piece of that, if you'd like to be able to turn, the sour into the sweet, and even transcend that and see where there is no sweet and no sour, it's just all good. I would invite you to practice consciousness studies, as we all have. It takes roughly 4 to 6 years to become a practitioner. The last 2 years are all spent practitioner 1 and 2, pretty intense, and it takes anywhere from 2 to 4 years to take the courses that lead up to that. And I would invite you to look into that, and I would invite you to come share with us and be an inspiration. Are these ladies an inspiration to you? They certainly are to me. They certainly are to me. I have something to learn from every one of them. So that's my pitch. So I would like you to join me now in our closing treatment. And this is something else that we learn in our